So I'm going to get involved with this farmers stuff because I believe in it. Now, the farmers want to get everybody on board first and explain about their plight, right, which is a good idea to get public support. But when they do start to protest and stuff like that, there's going to be a food shortage and you're going to go without. Now, what point will it be that the people will lose support for the farmers? Because at the end of it, if the farmers get put out of business, you're out of food forever. That's the long and the short of it. And there is, it seems to me, an effort by powers above that they want to basically destroy a lot of the farming. Now, I'm not going to go into the reasons why, you can imagine why, but that's the end goal. They're basically making it so it's completely unviable for them to produce. And they're also putting things in place that, say, for instance, rather than growing things that we need, right, seed, grain, I don't know, crops, other stuff, what they want us to do is produce pretty flowers. Whether they're usable, I'm getting the impression that they're not. And you'll get £450 an acre or something, I don't know. So rather than, say, for instance, £35 an acre for something else that we actually need. So it seems they're going to try and gear these farmers who are struggling up to this, which will help them temporarily out, okay? But obviously, it will have a knock-on effect. But you'll also end up with nothing to see for it, all right? They won't be producing stuff that will end up going further down the road for you to actually consume. Now, they've also trying to ask farmers to rewild. That's a completely different thing, but that's been going on for quite a while. But the farmers and what they actually do is far more than just producing food. They take care of the lanes. They take care of the hedges. You know, they do a lot of drainage locally, which will help stop your places flooding. There's so much more to what farmers do than what you see. And I'm wondering, will the British public, who can be, not all, can be very narrow-minded, it's all about me and what I want, and I don't want to struggle, and I don't want to go without, and I don't want this, and I don't want that, and I don't want to think about it. Where's the sand? There's my head. Seems like there's a lot of that about, and that's been bred into people over the last 30 years. Think about yourself and not others. Fuck the community, I'm all right, Jack. And that seems to be something that's gone through social media, TV, all sorts. Anything that you can get, it's been bred into you. And it's worked really well. And then they fucked up local pubs where people will be, you know, building community centres and all the other things that make people all work together. So we're all very isolated and we all think about ourselves, but we are going to have to think about the farmers, because if we don't, we're finished. So the question is, at the moment, when you go to look over, say, for instance, over in France, Spain and places like this, anywhere where they're starting to strike, more towards Germany, actually, if I'm honest, there's not a lot on the shelves. Now, will you be patient? Will you support this? Back in the day when the miners went on strike, them and their families had nothing, and they didn't have money to buy food, and the local shops were giving people stuff on tick, hoping that eventually they would be able to pay it back. And the community all rallied round. People who weren't in areas that were affected by obviously not being able to work because the pits have been out on strike, they sent food to them. They sent stuff like this. Now, the farmers have said that what they're thinking about doing is trying to help the public. You know, if there's no food on the shelves at the distribution centres, these farming shops that they have will put together food boxes so that you can get some food. That's a great idea. And that's great for many reasons, because what it's going to do is cut out the greedy people in the middle, which suck all the jam out the donut and make sure they keep the prices down for the farmers to make them struggle. Now, you may pay a bit more at the farm shop, but it's going to be as fresh as it's going to get. It cuts out the middleman. You help the farmer, you get your food, and you also probably might actually end up with a bit of community spirit, because when you go there, you'll meet others like you, you'll get chatting, you could make friends. There's so much more benefit about going to a local farm and buying your food from there, or going to a local shop which buys its food direct from the farm. Now, me personally, I live in a little village, and I get my meat from a butcher. It isn't cheap, but there again, the meat isn't cheap, if you know what I mean. It's good quality stuff. And I know him, I know where he gets it from. He can almost give me a story regarding the farm where he's getting his stuff. So that's good. That's what you want. I don't want to mention this. These people in these distribution centres, the big networks, the Tesco's, the Asda's, the Co-ops, etc., when they're keeping their price down, they're not just doing it to get you in, they're doing it to put all these other places out of business. And when they put them out of business, that's when the price goes up. But they've also got you over a barrel. If these other places go under, you've got nowhere else to go. And it does seem at the moment that what they want is massive companies that are on board with the thing, which will play along with the rest of them that are doing the thing, so that you lot can be controlled and punished. I mean, if it was ever brought about, say for instance, that a credit scoring system would affect where you could buy your food, i.e. say for instance your credit wasn't enough, then you'd only be able to buy a certain amount of food, you could be sure that Tesco's, Asda's, Co-op and all the rest of it would all be on board with the thing, because there's so much of a massive business that they couldn't go against the state anyway, and they'd work together and you'd suffer. But local shops, would they do that? I don't know. Don't think so. But I just wonder, because this thing will get worse, much, much worse. And unfortunately, it has to get worse for the things, the powers that be, to take any notice of what we're saying or what we're doing. It does feel like that nobody listens to anything we say or anything we do, and it does seem that they're determined to go ahead with what seems like a fucking genocidal idea. It really does. I despise these people. That's a really strong word, so that's why I said it, because I mean it. I hate these fucks on a biblical level. They are, to me, evil. They've got the worst interests of humanity. All they're interested in is greed, power and control. Some of the worst tenets of human defect. These things were warned about in the Bible. They're probably warned about in the Quran and the Torah and everything else. Every religious book is warned about evil men that are corrupt and all the rest of it. Now, you might not be religious, and that's fine. But even if you're religious or not, you can see that evil men are no good to good men. And it seems that there's a lot of good men out there, but there's a lot of men that don't want to stick their head above the parapet. You have to. You don't have much choice anymore. Because if you don't, you will suffer, and your kin will suffer, and everybody you care will suffer. So it is what it is. People like me aren't brave. We've just worked out we have to. That's it. Anyway, I'm going to get on and wait for the mechanic, because as I say, I don't know if I've said that in this video, because I've recorded this once already because I had a phone call. The exhaust has fallen off the truck. And we've got a brake light out, and we've got an AdBlue fault. All on a Monday. So that's good, because somebody borrowed my truck on the weekend. I wonder where they went. Did they do the Paris-Dakar or another thing? Here we are, Monday. Could be worse. I went round a roundabout earlier on and it was quiet at the time, and I've come back an hour later and somebody's been knocked off their bike. That's not a good way to start Monday. Now, I'm not a great fan of cyclists, but didn't look like one of the spandex firm, if you know what I mean. So yeah, it could be worse. Anyway, thanks for liking, sharing and subscribing. My subs are going up a lot at the moment, which is great. We're very close to getting to the 100,000, and that's all thanks to you, obviously. And Big Dave Green, my sarcastic, blue, foul-mouthed plant that gives zero fucks and is just all about taking the piss out of the situation, and has a lot less filters than I do. His YouTube channel is doing really well. I think he's at about 670 or maybe even 700 subs right now. And he's only just started. That's out of one video. So, well, one live stream. And it seems that you lot liked it. So big up Big Dave Green. And we're working on him so that he's actually got a mouth and eyes. So when he does talk, to add to the humour value. And he's going to have other guests come on, like the Irish Potato and many others. And we're just literally, it's all about having fun. We'll talk about things, but we're all about just ripping the piss out of it, like YouTube had to be, like YouTube used to be. And we all need a laugh, don't we? So subscribe to Big Dave Green, and I'll see you in a bit.